we don't often get time to speak to someone that is living that, right? And we have the beauty to speak to you who's living that. Like, what are your thoughts on just being a biracial Black and Asian individual in this country right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always taken, an amazing amount of pride, honestly, in like where I come from and both my parents and both their histories and cultures and whatnot. So I love being who I am, and I'm very comfortable in who I am. Recently, like I said, in 2020, with everything that developed, that was big, heavy on the Black side. And, a lot of people came together and stood up for a lot of great things, and it opened up a lot of people's eyes, which was great. And, the truth of the matter is, like, most people, like, it's like the one drop rule, like most people view me as a Black man. They don't look at me and be like, oh, that's an Asian guy, like when I'm walking down the street. So that definitely hits home. And that's definitely what most people see when they see me in that experience. But I also take a ton of pride, in being Asian as well. Like, I also have to say, like, my dad isn't really close with his side of the family. And my mom's side is like extremely close. It's like my four aunts, or my three aunts and my mom, my grandparents, and like that's where all the cookouts happened. That's all I ate was rice almost every single day. My mom was the cook of the family, so people like are
that'll
freaked out.
fatten you up real quick,
I'll
bro.
tell you about. People are freaked out when they see a rice cooker, this like Asian style rice cooker in my kitchen right now. So, that's like really rubbed off on me in a lot of ways too. And they're just like such a tight knit family, and I've just learned so much. It's what's awesome about it is like just being able to see these like two like really unique cultures. Like my mom's from the Manila, Philippines, and my dad's from Southside Chicago. Like two completely opposite worlds. Like you can't imagine. Like my mom grew up there till she was 16. My dad grew up on the South Side of Chicago, and they end up like being married for 30 plus years.
How did they meet, by the way?
So they actually met. My mom moved here when she was 16, and then when I guess in her 20s, they met on a blind date. My dad being my dad, he was like, he saw one of his buddies was dating a Filipino woman, and he was like, "Hey man, hook me up with one of those little." If you say it like that, my dad's a funny guy, man. I'm telling you, that man was a dog back in the day, but he grew up and got settled down with my mom. So
she set him straight.
yeah. So it's just all fascinating though, but. Yeah.
And what was that like, man? Like growing up with those two cultures? I mean, it sounds like you were immersed in both.
Yeah.
What were those experiences like?
It's amazing. Like I said, with the Asian side, that's like mostly what I know as far as like the big family portion. But like on my Black side, I didn't get to, my dad wasn't close with his dad. And then unfortunately his mom, who he was close with, passed away before I was born. But my dad's, much older than I am. I just turned 29 years old. My dad is 73 years old.
Wow.
Grew up in South Side of Chicago. I was born in Mississippi, grew up in South Side of Chicago though. Had nothingness. So like he lived that like really like when times were really like racially tense. Like he told me a bunch of stories, like him and his friends and then the white kids would go meet up at the railroad tracks and just fight each other all the time for no reason other than just being like different races, and he's had a lot of like crazy racial experiences, just growing up, just being Black, and especially that long ago. Like the crazy thing to me is like my pops is 73, so he was born in like 1940s, but his mom was actually a little bit older too. She was born in 1913, and like I'm doing the math, I'm like her grandparents like lived during like the Civil War time basically. So it's like we're not that far removed from like times where like slaves were still around, especially on my dad's side of the family. So it's all wild to me. And my dad, that's the great thing about having a little bit of an older pops, is that he's super wise, and he's been able to share his life experiences with me, which has like helped me out a ton.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that, like what him talking about his experiences just helping you know what to expect being a Black man in this country. I'm sure that was a big huge help for you. For
sure. He's extremely cautious. Like he's like when I bought my first nice car, when I started working as an engineer, this BMW 6 Series, and he was like, Ivan, always reminded me, he's like, careful where you're driving that thing around. There's got a lot of haters out there. I'm like, Dad, don't worry about it. Like, I'm fine. But like, those are the types of things he always reminds me of no matter what, because he just knows how things are. And he's like honestly scarred a little bit just from the way he's grown up and the things he's experienced.
I can imagine. That's some things I'll probably tell my child whenever I have one day. Can I ask you, like, because I'm not of mixed race, but you are mixed race. You are well off financially. Have you ever experienced people that are of Asian descent and or of African American descent that say you're not enough per se? And how do you handle that? Like, what is your response to them? Like, you're not black enough, bro. Or are you like, what do you say to that individual?
You know,
I see you smiling like.
no, yeah, because that's something, honestly, like you hear, well, I've heard like my whole life. I feel like, as you're growing up as a kid, kids are going to be kids, like they find out I'm black and Asian, they go to every single type of stereotype you can think of, so yeah, definitely heard that kind of stuff all the time. It's interesting sometimes, like if I am in a group of, let's just say all Asian people, like I do realize that once they find out I'm like half Asian, that like calms their nerves, so they'll start to talk to me more. I feel like I feel a little bit more accepted. But like, I mean, today now though, I definitely like, you check that stuff at the door basically whenever like somebody tries to, you don't let that stuff slide anymore, because that's the kind of stuff that, like, for myself, fortunately, like I was able to make it through and I'm pretty strong-minded and self-confident, but for somebody else that can like tear you down slowly but surely over time, mentally. So it's about being very comfortable with who you are and understanding who you are, and not tearing other people down just for being a certain race.